The red sofa had never felt this cold. Graham Norton was doing what Graham Norton always did, leaning back with that mischievous smile, drink in hand, ready to charm his guests into revealing things they shouldn't. Tonight, nobody was laughing. Prince Harry sat on the famous sofa, and something was fundamentally wrong. Graham tried his usual approach, self-deprecating Irish humor, gentle teasing, the warmth that had disarmed politicians, royalty, and Hollywood legends alike. Harry wasn't disarmed. Then Graham asked the question everyone in Britain wanted answered. Simple, playful, wrapped in that signature Norton charm. "So what wind blew you back to our shores?" What Harry said made Graham's smile tighten. What Graham said after that, still smiling, still charming, but with something sharper underneath, would be discussed in every pub across the nation by morning. This is the interview that changed everything. Subscribe now, hit that notification bell, and let's see what happened. The Graham Norton Show studio had its usual Friday night energy. The famous red sofa, drinks flowing, an audience ready for celebrity chaos. Graham had been hosting since 2007. He knew how to make anyone comfortable, how to extract confessions through charm rather than confrontation. Harry arrived with security that seemed excessive for a BBC studio. Multiple guards, handlers, someone whose job appeared to be looking perpetually concerned. He walked onto the set, shook Graham's hand briefly, settled onto the red sofa with controlled posture. "Prince Harry, welcome to the show." Graham. "Oh, we're being formal. I'll try to warm you up. I've got wine. We've got stories. This is supposed to be fun." "I'm here for conversation." "Conversation with alcohol. That's our specialty. Now let's get you a drink. What'll it be?" "Water is fine." Graham raised an eyebrow at the audience. "Water. On my show. This is unprecedented. Even the Archbishop of Canterbury had a cheeky glass." "So," Graham said, settling into his hosting rhythm, "what wind blew you back to our shores? We heard you couldn't possibly visit because security was impossible. Establishment stitch-up, I believe were your words. And yet here you are, in the flesh, on my sofa." Harry's expression was guarded. "Circumstances evolved." "Evolved? That's one word for it. Another word might be convenient. You said the establishment was blocking you. Now the establishment is apparently helping. Either they changed or you changed your story. Which is it?" The situation was genuinely complicated. Was it? Because from outside it looked like you blamed your dad, blamed the Home Office, blamed everyone. And now suddenly it's all fine. If I blamed my mum for something publicly and then showed up at Christmas, she'd have questions. Does your dad have questions? The audience laughed nervously. Harry didn't. "My father and I communicate." Communicate? Another wonderfully vague word. "I communicate with my accountant. Doesn't mean we share a warm relationship. What does communicate actually mean for you two?" "I'm genuinely curious," Graham continued, that twinkle in his eye. "You're bringing the whole family this time. Meghan, the kids. First visit in 4 years. Is this a holiday or a hostage negotiation?" "It's for the Invictus Games." "The Invictus Games that aren't happening until 2027? You're a year early. That's keen. I wasn't aware military precision meant arriving 12 months ahead of schedule." "The countdown events. Countdown events that require the entire family, including children who've never really been here? That's commitment to a countdown. I barely commit to my own birthday countdown. What else is happening?" Harry shifted in his seat. "Family considerations." "Family considerations! Now we're getting somewhere. Tell me more about these family considerations. The family you've been estranged from? Or the family you brought with you?" "Both, potentially." "Potentially, so this is exploratory, testing the waters, seeing if Britain still bites." Graham turned to the audience. "We don't bite, by the way. We mostly just make tea and complain about the weather. We're harmless." "Your brother," Graham said, leaning forward with apparent casual interest. "William. Reports say he's not thrilled about this visit. Bolted shut was one description of his door. Another was that he threatened to boycott family events if you're invited. Is that accurate? I won't discuss private family matters. You've discussed them extensively. Books, documentaries. That Oprah interview we all pretended not to watch, but definitely watched at least twice. Private went out the window years ago, didn't it? This is different. Different how? You described him losing his temper. You mentioned physical altercations. You questioned his choices, his marriage, his hairline. Now he won't see you and suddenly it's private? Graham's voice remained light, playful, but the questions weren't. The context was important. The context was book sales. Let's be honest with each other. The context was a Netflix deal. The context was interviews that paid quite well. Now that the consequences have arrived, the family estrangement, the bolted doors, suddenly context matters differently. Harry grabbed his water. His hand was steady, but his jaw wasn't. I don't want to be harsh, Graham said, though his smile suggested otherwise. I'm Irish. We understand complicated family dynamics. We invented complicated family dynamics. But we also understand accountability. When you slag off your brother on global television, he might be a bit miffed. That's not shocking. That's cause and effect. I told my truth. Your truth. That phrase again. My truth. His truth. Everyone has their truth now. It's very convenient. My truth is that I'm devastatingly handsome and everyone finds me irresistible. Doesn't make it accurate, though I wish it did. The audience laughed. Harry didn't. In Ireland, we'd say you made your bed, meaning, I know what it means. Good. Then you understand why the bed might be uncomfortable now. You criticized your family publicly for years. They're not rushing to welcome you with open arms and a fruit basket. That's not cruelty. That's natural consequence. There were reasons for what I shared. There are always reasons. The question is whether the reasons justified the damage. From outside, it looks like the damage was considerable and the reasons were commercial. The divorce rumors, Graham said, shifting terrain. They're everywhere. Even my hairdresser asked me about them. What's actually happening with you and Meghan? Tabloid fiction. Fiction that required a formal denial from your team. That's a lot of effort for fiction. When my rumors circulate, I just let them float. You issued statements. Multiple statements. What needed stating so urgently? False information spreads. False information spreads when there's oxygen. What oxygen exists in your marriage that's feeding these flames? Because these flames are quite persistent. Harry's jaw tightened. Our marriage is private. Your marriage has been a Netflix documentary. It's been magazine covers. It's been the subject of countless interviews you've given. The privacy ship hasn't just sailed. It's circumnavigated the globe, stopped for tea in several ports, and returned with souvenirs. That was different. Different because you controlled it. When you choose to share, it's storytelling. When others choose to observe, it's invasion. The principle is selective, isn't it? Let me try something different, Graham said. I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to answer without using the words private, complicated, tabloid, or truth. Ready? Harry stared at him. Why are you actually here? In Britain? On my show? What do you want? Silence stretched painfully. See, that's fascinating. You've done dozens of interviews explaining your story, hours of documentaries, hundreds of pages of memoir. But when someone asks what you actually want, you've got nothing. Either you don't know, or you won't say. Neither is particularly encouraging. I want to show my children their heritage. Their heritage you've spent years criticizing? Their heritage you've monetized complaints about? Their heritage you've described as toxic, suffocating, and damaging? That heritage? Harry stood up slightly. That's unfair. That's accurate. You've made millions describing this heritage as harmful. Now you want your children to experience it. Pick one. Either it's harmful enough to leave, or it's valuable enough to share. The contradiction is doing a lot of heavy lifting. Your children, Graham continued. Archie and Lilibet. They're 7 and 5 now. They've been to Britain exactly once in 4 years. They've met their grandfather, the king, exactly once. How did that happen? Security concerns. Security concerns that are now resolved, which means they were either resolvable all along or never as serious as claimed. You visited Britain multiple times alone. You found security adequate for yourself, just not for them? The risk assessment. The risk assessment that changed the moment you wanted to attend Invictus events? Remarkable timing. Either the assessments were wrong before, or they're wrong now. Which is it? I won't detail security arrangements. You detailed them extensively in court, and lost, multiple times. The details are public record. What I'm asking is why the children paid the price for a dispute you couldn't win. Your father, Graham said. King Charles. He's had cancer. He's 77. He's reportedly trying to reach out. What's actually happening there? We communicate. We've established that communicate is doing a lot of work. Let me be more specific. When did you last have a genuine conversation with your father? Not a briefing, not a logistics call. A conversation where you talked about feelings and family and the future. Silence. The silence is instructive. Most people can remember their last real conversation with their parents. You can't access it. Either it hasn't happened, or it was so long ago it's lost. Our relationship is complicated. There's complicated again. I asked you not to use that word. It's become a shield. Every difficult question gets complicated thrown at it. Complicated isn't an answer. It's avoidance wearing a fancy hat. Here's what puzzles me, Graham said, his Irish accent thickening slightly. I've interviewed hundreds of people on this sofa. Politicians, criminals, people who've done genuinely terrible things. Most of them can eventually laugh at themselves, find some humor in their situation, acknowledge their own absurdity. He looked at Harry directly. You can't. Every question about your choices becomes an attack on you. Every observation becomes victimization. Every attempt at humor gets met with walls. I'm genuinely trying to make this enjoyable for everyone. You're making it impossible. Your questions are hostile. My questions are cheeky. There's a difference. Hostile would be insults. What I'm doing is pointing out contradictions with a smile. The contradictions are yours. The smile is mine. It's how I've always worked. The staff departures, Graham said. Archwell has had, what is it now, 18, 19 departures? Communications directors cycling through. Staff reportedly struggling with conditions. What's happening internally? Every organization has turnover. At that rate? I've had the same production team for years. Most organizations don't hemorrhage staff like that. What are they running from? That characterization is unfair. That characterization is reported, multiple times, by multiple outlets, with specific details about working conditions. Where there's smoke, there's usually tabloid exaggeration. There's tabloid again. It's become your answer for everything. Tabloid, tabloid, tabloid. At some point, the word loses meaning. Not every difficult report is tabloid invention. Some of it might actually be true? Archwell itself, Graham continued. Your foundation, what has it accomplished? Specifically, I'm curious because foundations usually have accomplishments they're proud of. Schools built, policies changed, people helped. What's yours? We focus on systemic change. Systemic change, another phrase that sounds impressive until you ask for details. What system has changed because of Archwell? Our partnerships. Partnerships toward what outcome? I've had charity founders on this sofa. They talk for hours about specific results. They can't stop talking about it because they're proud. You can't start. Why is that? Impact takes time. Impact also takes evidence. After years of operation, surely something measurable exists. One thing. Anything. Silence stretched again. The silence is becoming a pattern tonight. Every time I ask for specifics, there's nothing there. I've talked about you on this show, Graham said. With other guests. We've discussed the whole situation. Some of us were sympathetic initially. The Oprah interview was compelling television. The early stories seemed genuine. He paused. But then the book came out, and the documentary, and the other interviews, and more complaints, and more accusations, and more victimhood. At some point, sympathy becomes exhaustion. We're exhausted. Britain is exhausted. The story never moves forward, it just loops. I've been telling my story. You've been telling the same story, repeatedly, to anyone who'll pay for it. And now you're here, and I'm asking what comes next, and you've got nothing. No new chapter, no growth, no evolution. Just the same grievances with a different postcode. Harry grabbed his jacket. I didn't come here to be mocked. Mocked? Graham looked genuinely surprised. I've been making jokes. That's literally my job description. I make jokes with everyone. Jennifer Lawrence sat on this sofa and laughed when I teased her about falling at the Oscars. Dame Judi Dench laughed when I joked about her memory. Hugh Grant laughed when I brought up his worst reviews. That's what happens here. We laugh together. Graham's voice remained warm but pointed. When someone can't laugh at themselves, there's usually a reason. Either the ego is too fragile to handle examination, or the story they're telling themselves can't survive humor. Which is it for you? My experiences are serious. All experiences are serious and also slightly ridiculous. That's life. That's being human. The combination is what makes us interesting. You've removed the ridiculous entirely. You've become entirely serious, entirely wounded, entirely victim. It's very one note, and frankly, it's exhausting. Harry moved toward the exit. I expected better from British television. Graham smiled. British television expected better from a British prince. We're all disappointed, but I suspect we'll recover faster. Harry paused at the studio door. History will vindicate me. Graham raised his glass. History will note that you walked off a chat show because an Irish comedian made gentle observations about your contradictions. History will note that you couldn't laugh at a single joke in an hour of conversation. History will note that you came to Britain claiming to want reconciliation and couldn't even handle a Friday night sofa conversation. He took a sip. History judges how people handle uncomfortable moments with grace. You handled this by leaving. That's the history being written. Right now. On camera. Harry left. The studio door closed behind him. Graham turned to his audience with exaggerated bewilderment. Well, that was different. Shall we get the other guests back? I promised to be nicer to them. Though to be fair, I was quite nice to him too. He just didn't notice. The audience laughed, grateful for the release. Graham addressed the camera directly. I want to explain what just happened because it's rather remarkable. He set down his drink. I've been doing this show for 17 years, over 500 episodes. I've had every kind of guest imaginable. Nervous ones, defensive ones, people going through actual crises, people whose careers were ending, people whose marriages were collapsing. They still engage. They still find moments of humor. They still participate in the conversation. He shook his head. What I experienced tonight was different. Every question about his choices became victimhood. Every joke became attack. Every observation became hostility. In 17 years, I've never met someone so completely unable to laugh at anything, including himself. And I've had politicians on this sofa. The frustrating thing, Graham continued, is that I wasn't being cruel. I asked about his UK visit, a legitimate question. I asked about his family, a legitimate question. I asked about the contradictions in his public statements, legitimate observations. Those are the questions any British audience would want answered. He gestured expansively. He's been here criticizing everything British for years. The institution, the media, the family, the country that made him a prince. Now he's back, asking for welcome. We welcomed him, with questions. That's how conversation works. That's how British conversation has always worked. He straightened. He wanted warmth without examination. That's not warmth, that's capitulation. And this show doesn't do capitulation. It does wine and jokes and honesty. Sometimes uncomfortable honesty. but always with affection underneath. "I genuinely hope he finds whatever he's looking for," Graham said, his voice softening slightly. "Peace, reconciliation, some ability to laugh at the absurdity of life. We all need that. Life is ridiculous. Family is ridiculous. Fame is ridiculous. The ability to recognize that, to laugh at it, is what keeps us human." He paused. "But until he can do that, these conversations will keep going the same way. Questions, defensiveness, departure. It's a loop he's stuck in, and only he can break it." He raised his glass again. "Now, who wants wine? Because I certainly need some after that." For Graham Norton, the interview became an unexpected demonstration of what happens when British wit meets American-style grievance. Proof that 17 years of charming celebrities couldn't penetrate defenses built entirely on victimhood. For Prince Harry, it was catastrophic in a unique way. Graham Norton wasn't hostile journalism. He was the nation's favorite Friday night companion. Warm, funny, beloved. Being unable to laugh with Graham Norton, walking out on the friendliest show on British television, exposed something no PR strategy could address. But for the millions who watched, something else emerged. The contrast between Graham's warmth, jokes offered, wine poured, genuine attempts at connection, and Harry's complete inability to participate in any of it, told its own story. Graham made jokes. Harry couldn't laugh. Graham asked about contradictions. Harry called it attack. Graham offered 17 years of charming conversation. Harry couldn't accept any of it. And in that inability, in that devastating failure to engage with humor or warmth or anything genuinely human, everything anyone needed to know about what Prince Harry had become was revealed. Some people laugh at themselves because they can. Others prove they've forgotten how. Graham offered the red sofa. Harry couldn't stay. That's the whole story. 17 years, 500 episodes, Britain's most charming host, and he couldn't laugh at a single joke or answer a single question without treating it as attack. What does that tell you? If you want more content that recognizes when humor gets rejected, subscribe. This is where wit meets observation. Turn on notifications. Don't miss what matters. Drop a like. More charm, more questions, more of what 17 years teaches you about the difference between genuine and performed. Stay with us.